And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Hit Z Road. I hate this name. However, I don't hate it as much as I did when I first heard it. Now, and they had another, I think it was called Route 666, and they changed it because there was another game with that name. But Hit Z Road, if you take a close look at the box, when you look at this box, you'll see that it looks like some 1960s game. And in fact, the back of the box, which I have here, actually doesn't even talk anything about the game. There's a cover that goes over it, so you can actually see about Hit Z Road. But this is called Hit the Road, and it's like some old 1950s garbagey game. And the whole box has that inside it. It looks like a kid found a game. This is a kid who's in the zombie apocalypse with his family and surviving, and he's changing this, and he's crossing things out. Instead of saying, as seen on TV, he writes, "No more TV." And so the whole game is like that. He finds bottle caps, and those are his pieces. He's using old decks of playing cards to make the game. The game is a game in which players each have their own group of survivors, and you're trying to survive the best. You're trying to survive, first of all, but also whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. Here's how you play. Now, in this game, players are going to be going through a deck of cards, which is going to be levels 1, 2, and 3. You'll notice that the backs of the cards are all different sorts of cards, but that doesn't really matter because you're just going to be flipping them over anyway. You don't use every card in a game. Players are going to have a band of survivors in front of them. You got some survivors, and then you got one that's your color, and that one is you. Don't let that one die. Now, players are going to be having different resources. These resources look like bottle caps. We have ammunition, which is good for shooting zombies. We have gas, which is good from escaping zombies. And we have adrenaline, which is good for, well, everything. So you're going to place out 8 cards at a time. And if there's 4 players, you'll be using all the cards. Well, you always use all the cards. Just if there's less than 4 players, you're going to make some of the card rows more expensive to use with these keys. And players are then going to all put their marker here, and they're going to take turns bidding or passing. When you bid, you are basically bidding some resources that you have. So I might bid 2 resources. The next person passes. The next person bids 1 resource. The next person passes. We get back to red, they pass. Now yellow goes to 4. Everyone else passes, round is over. Only 1 person is allowed on each number except 0. Everyone can be there. Then, starting with whoever is the farthest, that person's going to pick a row and go through that row, which gets rid of that row. And then the next person picks a row, so whoever's last is going to pick the last row. Now, when you go through a row, you're going to go through the cards from left to right. Many times it's going to give you resources. So you can see here, you get 2 gas on this card. Then you fight 2 zombies. On this card, you get 2 adrenaline and you get some ammunition. On this card here, you get ammunition, adrenaline, and then you have to fight 4 zombies. This card's also worth a point at the end of the game. This one you have 4 gas, and then you get this token here. There's a bunch of big tokens that you'll get. Sometimes these tokens are useful. For example, in this case, you get the bus. Later on, if you get another card, you can turn your bus into something that runs zombies over. And so a lot of cards are going to have different victory points on them. Sometimes they give you like this token here, which could be a negative thing later on. Basically, you have radiation sickness, and if you go through another tile later on, one of your survivors might die. And players will just go through each one. There's going to be more and more zombies that show up. Sometimes the cards will have something on them. Like here, you roll a die, and if you don't roll target, you will lose one of your survivors. Sometimes they have something that helps in the battle. If at least one player has been eliminated from the game, you will fight 8 zombies instead of 1. Now, fighting zombies, this is the core of the game. Let's say I have to fight 4 zombies. So 4 zombies show up, and let's say I have 3 survivors plus myself, so 4 of us in total. Now, the first thing I can do when I'm fighting zombies is I can say, forget this, I'm out of here. I can spend 2 gas and drive away. You can do that. You avoid the fight altogether, but you don't get to keep the card at all. So if the card was worth any points, so for example, I don't want to fight these zombies, 4 zombies, so I drive away from them. I don't have to, but I won't get this point either, and most points at the end of the game wins. But let's say I do decide to fight them. The first thing I can do is I can shoot at them if I want to. I decide how much ammunition I'm going to spend. So let's say I spend 3 ammunition. I then get to roll 2 dice for each ammunition I spend. 2, 4, 6. I roll these, I'm looking for targets. I roll 2 targets, boom, 2 of the zombies are dead. Now the zombies come in for melee. Now what you do in melee is you roll 4 dice. Now, when you're shooting at the zombies, the only thing you're looking for is targets. Nothing else matters. In melee, every side matters. So you roll the sides. Now, I did fantastic here. You'll notice that I have hit the zombies 3 times, and there's 3 adrenaline symbols, so they're all dead. But let's say I had only rolled 1 of these targets here, and the rest of the sides were blank. I could kill both of them by spending an adrenaline. Or if there's an adrenaline here, I can just kill a zombie by spending an adrenaline. This is what you don't want to roll. This kills one of your survivors, unless you spend an adrenaline. So keeping adrenaline around to avoid having your survivors die is pretty good. So the sides of the die are, there's a blank side, there's an adrenaline, which lets you kill a zombie. There's kill 1 zombie, try not to get killed by a zombie, and kill a zombie plus an adrenaline symbol. And there's actually 2 of the regular target sides. Sometimes you'll run across harder zombies, which will cause you to roll these red dice, and those have 2 hits on them, and one of them can't be avoided by an adrenaline. And as your survivors die, if your last one dies, you are out of the game. You cannot win at that point. There are ways, and some of the cards will give you more survivors too. And of course, you're going to need to get more and more supplies to be able to fight the zombies and also bid to go through the different cards. After you've gone through all the cards, everyone will then reveal all the points that they have, and whoever has the most is the winner. There are some bonus cards to the side, which incidentally are like stolen from other Asmodee games. These cards are given to, for example, the person with the most bullets, the person with the most adrenaline, the person with the most gas, and the person with the most survivors at the end of the game will get bonus 3 points. These are added. Whoever has the most points wins. If everyone dies and only one person survives, that person automatically wins. And if everyone dies, well, then everyone loses. First of all, I have to talk about the aesthetics for Hit Z Road. They're amazing. This is one of the best looking games I've seen in a while. And I'm not a huge zombie fan, like, ugh. This game is not very gory, which I like that. I mean, but at the same time, it's not cartoony. It looks realistic, but I love how the whole thing, the cards have coffee stains on them or soda stains on them. The cards look worn, they're not. You know, the bottle caps, everything just has this really cool look amongst it. The art is really well done. This game is just, I mean, an A+ from me on the way this one looks. I'm very impressed. It's not the prettiest of games per se, but when you take a look at it, you're like, wow, this looks like a period piece to some degree. I'm just really pleased with that. The gameplay itself. Now, the first thing that some people are going is, whoop, there's player elimination. I'm out. Well, unless you play very foolishly, you're going to survive to almost the end of the game. In the games I've played or seen play, people have died in them always, and maybe I have too, but it's always like the last turn or the second last turn. So it's not very long that you are out of the game. Because you have these survivors, and the cards get harder and harder and harder, but you usually have resources, and you just kind of how you're going to allocate those resources. This game is a light game. You're rolling dice, and there's those amazing times where you have one survivor left who rolls 1 die and yet manages to kill a group of zombies, and everyone's cheering because even though you don't want that person to win, it's still an impressive thing to see. And so there's that kind of fun in it, but it's like, okay, when am I going to use gas to run from these zombies? Or maybe there are some cards that basically say you take it, one of your survivors dies unless you spend 2 gas right now. So gas is important there. The ammunition is important because if you can blow away all the zombies before they come in close, you take no damage. And then the adrenaline's great because you don't want to die. And knowing how to spend each of those is important. But that auction's what's interesting. It's a fun little auction at the beginning of each turn. But if you take that auction too seriously, you will get nailed. In the very first game I played of this, people bid all the way up to 10. And we were paying tons of resources to win the auction. And then we realized, hey, we don't have anything. And as you go through the deck, the resources become scarcer and scarcer. So you have to be careful not to bid too high. At the same time, if you're like, I won't bid at all. Well, that's great, but your rows are going to be pretty terrible. Usually there's one row that's awful. I don't want to go through that row, so I want to bid. But I don't want to bid because then I'm spending the resources I need. It really balances well, that mechanism. I think the game plays best with 4 because of that. But 3 is not bad. 2 is okay. But that 4 dynamic adds that bidding aspect to it. And I'm telling you, a lot of people, especially those who are like diehard gamers, are really going to be thrown because they're going to be like, all right, let's go. I'm going to outbid you. Okay, I'm counting my resources. I'm definitely going to win this bid. Yeah, you won the bid, but you just spent all your ammo and money doing and gas doing so. So that's a good combination. It comes together. The gameplay itself is about 45 minutes. It's really a good length for this game. And so if you watch my videos, not a huge fan of the zombie theme. But there's a lot of zombie games out there. And I like this one. It brings a zombie theme. It's there. It's in the background. It's cool. You fight zombies. But it also lets me chuck dice in a light, fun way. But also make some meaningful decisions as the game goes by. And wow, does it look good. Definitely check it out. Hit Zeroed. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.